This story is based on a true incident that happened to a pizza delivery boy named John during his college days. John worked part-time at a small pizza shop to support his expenses. One night, around 1 a.m., just as he was about to finish his shift and head home, the phone rang. On the other end was a man speaking in a very low, strange voice, placing an order for 4 large pizzas. The shop was already closed, and John almost refused. But big orders meant good tips, and John badly needed the money. So he accepted the order and quickly left for delivery. The address was far from the shop, deep on the outskirts of the city. It was very late, the road was rough and deserted, with no streetlights, only darkness and wild trees on both sides. After driving for a while, John reached the location. In front of him stood an old, creepy house inside a forest area. No lights were on. There was no movement. It looked abandoned for years. Feeling uneasy, John called his manager to explain the situation and asked permission to leave. But the manager didn't answer. If John returned without delivering, his salary could be cut. Gathering courage, John walked toward the house. Suddenly, a dim light turned on inside, giving him a little confidence. He rang the doorbell and shouted, "Pizza delivery!" No one answered. He rang again. This time he heard footsteps inside. Still, the door didn't open. As John turned to leave, the door suddenly opened on its own. Nervously, John stepped inside. The hall was lit by a faint light, but no one was there. "Hello? Please take your pizza," he called out. Suddenly, a wild cat ran across the hall and entered a room. As soon as it did, the room's light and TV turned on, and the sound of children laughing filled the air. Thinking someone was playing a prank, John entered the room. Inside, 2 small girls were sitting on the bed, staring at him without blinking. Their smiles felt wrong. John angrily asked why they didn't open the door and where the adults were. They didn't answer. John said, "I'm here to deliver pizza. Is there any adult who can make the payment?" Suddenly, their eyes turned completely white, and their silence broke into a terrifying laugh. Both girls slowly pointed toward the door behind John. As he turned around, his heart stopped. Standing there was a terrifying shadow of a woman, her presence cold and horrifying. John dropped the pizza boxes and ran outside toward his bike. At the door, the woman's shadow and the 2 girls stood watching him leave. After riding a short distance, John felt something was wrong. The bike made a strange noise and suddenly stopped. The tire was punctured. Terrified, John called the police. While waiting, he glanced at the rearview mirror, and his blood froze. Behind him stood the same woman and the 2 girls, slowly walking toward him. John ran into the forest, hiding behind a large tree, praying for his life. Minutes later, he heard police sirens. Using all his strength, he ran back to the road. The police arrived and listened to his story. They checked the house, but found nothing except a wild cat. The next morning, John learned the horrifying truth. That house had been abandoned for 3 years. A woman and her 2 daughters once lived there, and they were brutally murdered one night. John realized the truth. The figures he saw that night were their spirits, still trapped in that house. After this incident, John quit his pizza delivery job forever. Even today, whenever he remembers that night, he breaks down in fear.